The XXL Freshman list is officially out after Akademiks, leaked it a few months back. Now, so the 2018 list includes Lil Pump, Smoke Perp, Ski Mask, The Slump God, JID, Stefflon Don, Block Boy JB, YBN Namir, Wi-Fi's Funeral, and Trippie Redd. Now, of course, people are going to be upset about the snubs, but first let's talk about the number 10 spot, which does not exist. Usually they feature 10. This time there's only 9 artists because Lil Skies reportedly turned it down. Akademiks, I see you nodding with the shady look in your eyes. Why is there no number 10 spot, my man?
I mean, I feel like I've dug too much into the publication already, but listen, I feel like this is a very shameful process for them. Even the way they put it out yesterday, trust me, it felt like they just kind of like, here's a list. You know what I mean? Just kind of like no-handed pass.
Yeah.
Did someone try to?
I wonder why.
Before they would be like, come watch The Breakfast Club. We're going to unveil the list. And after the show, the list will be out.
Why would they do that?
Right.
Good. Okay? Because this was embarrassing. There's usually a 10 spot, no 10 spot this year. You know why? Because there's been so much questions about what this 10 spot entails that I'm glad that they realized, okay, we're hearing the public pressure. We're not going to do it. And also from what we're hearing, they did try to do it because Lil Skies just turned it down. And then they offered to Richard Kidd, who found out that, wait, I'm a replacement? I'm not no bench nigga. Fuck out of here. He did not take it. And, of course, they shoot on one day, so I could imagine them saying, if we don't have another artist to be there on that day, let's shoot the cover without him. As far as the list, it's pretty much everyone who I kind of leaked that was going to be on it. Wi-Fi's Funeral, I didn't mention his name, but he's on it. I'm glad for him as well. I want to say, first and foremost, despite me leaking the list, also, anything I have said criticizing the list, it doesn't go towards the artists. All of these artists I fuck with. They are tremendous artists, and in their own rights, they have put in work to deserve them being on this list. Okay?
So what's the problem?
The problem is that it's not the list. You get me? It's not the list that if you were really coming up with a hip-hop freshman list, it would be. And the reason why is 2 Chainz pointed out. There's other people that you would see, like let's name, and we're
gonna get into it.
All right,
Yeah,
so
we're
let's
gonna
get
get
into
into
it.
it.
So he says, right, Lil Baby, 6ix9ine, T Grizzly, Moneybagg Yo, NBA Youngboy, a couple people he thinks deserve some love on this list.
Right.
So who would you guys replace then? Who are the biggest snubs?
My biggest snub, and this is one of my personal favorites, just because I'm a New York guy, I felt like Jay Critch should have made the list. I really feel like Jay Critch being the next New York guy because I don't know. I'm sure there's nobody from New York.
On the panel to help these motherfuckers make the list, bro? Because
no, I'm not. I've never sat on the panel to do any list. But what I'm saying is that there's a few people that I picked because I wanted to revisit the people that I had picked prior, right? Me personally, I felt Lil Baby. I felt 6ix9ine should have made it. Smoke Perp. I wanted Jaden Smith. Jaden Smith's my favorite artist right now. Lil Skies. I thought Joyner Lucas should have made it. I did pick YBN Namir, and I picked Jay Critch.
Okay.
Now, the only person that I'm really I won't sit here in front like I know everybody. I've seen Stefflon Don. I've seen a freestyle from her. I don't know any of her music, and that's not to discredit her by no means.
She's dope. She had that big track with French Montana, but she's more popular in the UK probably still.
Right. And Wi-Fi's Funeral. I never really got into his music, and the only thing I had seen from him was the thing where he jumped into the crowd and got beat up. Like, you know, that's the only thing I had seen. I never really got into took the time to get into his music. But I felt like Jay Critch should have made it, yo. I was kind of disappointed about that one.
Hey, again, when I was criticizing the list, I said there's a hazy criteria, right? There's no clear, hey, these are the things we consider, and that's the reason why they always do the interview, trying to clarify why certain people made it and why certain people didn't. All the time when I've heard them clarify along the years, they always say, hey, we want to make sure the artist has an album out that has sold and the artist is touring, blah, blah, blah. And then I look on the list, and if we're talking about artists who has had a project out that probably sold pretty decent or whatever, look at the list and I'm like, who? Other than Pump. And again, no disrespect to none of these artists, but most of these artists, Wi-Fi's Funeral, he's just releasing this project this week, right? Block Boy JB, we had that one song, but then they put together a project afterwards. He's still trying to get more tractions. We know the Rover song is moving a little bit, but he's trying to.
He had the record with Drake.
Yeah, I know, I get
That's
it.
why he got on there. Like, let's be for real. Block Boy JB, and I'm not.
Okay. So Lil Baby has a record with Drake.
His drink just came. Like,
and he dropped a project.
Wait, look. Now, I'm not because I felt like Lil Baby is one of my favorite picks that I had on there. But Block Boy JB started out the year with his Drake record. So that record was going this whole year. Now, to the whole thing with the sales, that can't be true as well because Meek was on there before his first album dropped. Kendrick was on there before his first album dropped.
Is it sales of big projects like tapes?
Well, no,
like
I
Pump and
agree with
Trippie
what he
had-
said, but that's what I'm saying. There's inconsistent variables that they play on just to justify whoever they used to make the list.
Although
for
sometimes
example,
it's hard to keep it consistent.
even though Lil Baby should be a shoo-in on the list,
Right.
and whatever you could say, most of his ascension to the next level, he dropped a project within the last 2 months. He was on a song with Drake in the last 2 months. Perhaps the list, and it was determined 3-4 months ago, right? And I'm not gonna kill him for not having the foresight, but still, Rich the Kid, a guy who has campaigned to be on the list from 2 years ago, and I get it, 2 years ago was definitely too early. Last year was, she probably should have made it, but this year he got a record with Kendrick.
Yeah.
Got a record with Kendrick, then he's doing a plug walk or run, depending how you see it, but he should be on it too. Like, so I understand why he would turn down like, I'm not no replacement.
He should have
right?
been in the
I
nine.
feel you, but at the same time, I feel like
And he outsold everybody on the list except Lil Pump, even the guy they were trying to have him replace, those guys.
But that's why I feel like I felt like Rich, it was a point in time where he could have made the list, but I felt like he kind of grew past it. A lot of artists like that don't make it, and then other artists come up, like a Jay Critch, who's his artist. That's why I don't think he needs to be on it because he has his own artist, he has his own entity he's building with Rich forever. Another person that, and I don't think anybody should just throw, I don't think the 10th spot should be looked at as throwing scraps or, oh, come on, because nobody else did it. But since it's not a 10th spot, Don Q. Why couldn't Don, like, you know, that's just another personal pick of mine. I felt like even if Don Q, because a lot of people feel like Don Q hadn't done enough work or hadn't been enough visible, maybe this could have been the springboard or the trampoline to propel him into doing a bit more. Like sometimes I feel like the list, making a list, can just push you a little bit more with your determination as an artist. Because I've seen a few dudes on the list before that I had never heard of or seen prior to seeing the list. And I mean, I've seen everybody that's on this list before.
And let's be clear, there's a running conspiracy out there.
What?
Right? There
Your
is.
own conspiracy?
Your
or
own
a-
act.
a
This
conspiracy?
is a conspiracy that I was brought to, people told me about because they were really looking into the process or whatever. And even also Bad Baby, Cash Me Outside Girl, she mentioned it. She says, I was told that despite me having one of the top votes for the quote-unquote 10 spot, the fact that XXL has a condom sponsor for the list, that I wouldn't be able to win, okay? So that's what she tweeted out. Who knows if it's true? I'm just saying that
Yeah,
that
that's-
is
I
what's
think
what's
that's
out
bullshit.
there,
That
okay?
sounds very.
I do think that there is these like check boxes, and I'm not mad at this if this is true, right? But I've seen historically,
Yeah, because I want keep your thought. One second. I just want you to have the same energy you had for Summer Jam. Because remember when we talked about in terms of picking and how things go and it being certain people's platforms and what they can and cannot do. And
Summer Jam's
before, and before.
It's the same but different. I'm gonna tell you why it's different.
Okay, so go ahead with your thought. I didn't want to throw you off too much.
Okay, well, I'll just get to Summer Jam. I'll answer the Summer Jam thing first, and I'll get to Summer Jam. If I have a venue and I'm protecting this venue, I want to make sure I still have this venue. Forget the sponsors. Summer Jam does have sponsors.
Absolutely.
But that venue is sacred. MetLife and how they're allowed to have a hip hop concert. Listen, first of all, that probably wouldn't be able to go down like how it does at the Garden. Okay?
Yeah, definitely not.
So them having MetLife Stadium, where again, it is a state-run facility. The Giants and Jets play there. This is a place that doesn't tolerate the bullshit.
Right.
For you to have that and have a historic hip-hop concert for over 20 years there, and you trying to protect that legacy, if you feel like somebody might be coming in with a certain type of energy, I understand, bro, we fuck with you, but we ain't trying to get our shit fucked up.
Okay.
Right?
Get that.
Okay.
Okay? Now, it would be different if it's like, oh, Summer Jam presented by Boost Mobile, and they do have sponsors. Let's be clear.
right.
And the sponsors say, oh, we don't like these performers, don't have them. That's a little bit different. And then I would say that's like XXL. It's not like XXL is saying to certain artists, we don't want y'all to fuck up. The list isn't like a venue or whatever.
Right.
It isn't, but it's a brand that's represented as
Yeah.
well, and they reserve the right of their brand to have that same mindset of protection.
But
I think
protection
branding
only,
aside-
or protection from only sponsors.
Yes,
Right,
all
right.
the sponsorships and
Right?
branding aside, let's talk about actual criteria.
Okay.
Criteria.
Right? Even if they're basing it on very specific criteria, they're not always going to be weighed equally because artists are always going to be in slightly different positions. So let's hear the rest of this.
This is what I also thought XXL and their panel or their writers or editorial staff, they probably think about when they're creating a list. They're probably thinking, you know what? We do have to fulfill these regional, like, we got to get someone from each region. So we get YBN. Where's YBN from?
He's from Alabama,
Okay. From there.
which is not really like.
You know, I used to think he was from the West.
He had. I ain't gonna lie. YBN. The reason why I love him so much is because his delivery reminds me of Eazy-E.
Yeah.
The way he like delivers his words and he says it so
Yeah.
well. He reminds me. He sounds like he's from the West, but I think like that comes from his. And he could fucking rap. That's what I really like about him. But go ahead, my fault.
Okay, so from Alabama. We'll just say South. But still, then we have the Florida. Florida's one of the hugest. They're having a huge surge in terms of new music, sounds, or whatever. So you have Pump, Perp, Ski Mask.
They
You have
all
to have-
three from Florida, right?
Exactly. The first three on the list right here is from Florida. Then you have to have a lyricist or two. You have to have a lyricist. Okay, we get it. Over the last couple of years, it's been the mumble list, quote unquote. But you got to have a lyricist. And if it wasn't Joyner,
Then,
JID,
okay.
right?
Joyner was. I don't know, man. He was such.
Okay,
a
okay.
mistake.
Or if not Joyner or JID, it should have been Don Q. I agree. And again, if his name was on the list, I would understand it in that type of way. They had to fulfill the lyricist. And I do believe now, and by the way, I'm not saying that's the only reason why JID's on it. I'm saying he does deserve it because, again, you can't all have the same position on a basketball team.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? And Steph London, as a lot of people might not be too familiar with her, but I enjoy the shit out of her music. You might be a little bit biased because I like anybody who be sounding a little bit Jamaican, you know what I mean?
She's just
Jamaican,
dope.
right?
She's just, yeah, she's just
yeah,
dope.
and she lives
I
in
seen
the
I
UK,
seen a little mini doc on her that's what kind of caught my attention when I seen the freestyle. So like I don't know her music, but I think that she's a better pick than a Bad Baby as far as representation.
Word.
And you
She had a
coulda
great
went-
record. She had a big record that really crossed over here. And if you are from the UK or overseas, it's really hard to get your record to cross over
Yeah.
to you.
So
Right,
hurting me, I think.
Really,
it's called, right?
yeah, hurting me. It's really hard. So I'm super happy for her, and it's definitely the time where we got to include a lot of women who are doing great things in hip hop on these lists. So there should be a spot or two definitely designated to consider all women, period, in hip hop. And with that being said, there still could be a conversation about other women who may have felt like they got snubbed, right? Like the Cuban Dolls,
Cuban
the
Doll,
Asian,
yeah, 'cause she was-
Asian Dolls,
But see,
Rico Nasty.
now look,
There's
real
there's a
quick.
bunch more.
With all of this that we're saying, do you understand how hard it is to pick this list?
Exactly. That's why I'm curious what his criteria would be.
Yeah.
Not even considering like I gotta fill a lyricist, I gotta add a woman. What would your actual
Okay.
base criteria be for picking this list?
The base criteria would be work put in. It's all right. Put it like this.
That's so
No,
general.
wait. Okay, so I could come up with a list, right? Like in terms of the hottest artist that's
Right.
young and that's about to either blow up even more or go quote unquote mainstream, or they're just super popular. Sometimes, like for example, in the case of Lil Pump, Pump is already mainstream. Now, from that list, you then evaluate other things, right? So other than the records and the buzz, okay, is this a diverse group of artists? And then you might chip off a couple at the bottom. But what I'm saying is that there's glaring holes when you feel like some of the artists that's missing should be the cream of the crop, like the Little Babies, the 6ix9ines, the Young Boys. There's usually another criteria for me is there's a street element you also got to bring because that's what hip hop is. So when I see Young Boy now on the list, that's the Kodak 21 spot that I've seen in the past. Why Young Boy not on the list?
What-
makes me feel a certain type
It
of way.
does.
Something's going on.
But look, see, I can't say something's going on because, like we said before. Now we all know the situation that Young Boy is facing, right? With what he's alleged with the young lady, and the video that's out. That's what I'm saying is like sometimes, cause then you look okay. Now Trippy, right? Everybody had what they had to say about 6ix9ine, but then the next day we look up and Trippy's arrested for allegedly hitting assaulting a woman, right? So but that wasn't now. If that was in January,
Might have changed the list.
it might have changed. He might have not even got the chance to be on the list. So this is why I'm saying a lot of times we can't just fucking jump out there because Espionage Act, you know what I mean?
So can I ask you a question with that then?
What?
In terms of Trippy? You're right. So again, XXL, whatever their criteria is, their criteria. And of course, if they're saying we don't want to put people who are involved in certain things, cool, get it.
Right.
But do you think that should be really considered? Because if, in all honesty, if we're making this list tomorrow, you don't have Trippy on it because of that. You don't have a young boy on it because of whatever he's alleged of and shit we saw.
Nobody else is alleged of anything really, other than them.
You're right, but again, is that even a list at that point? If you can't pick the people that make sense on a music level, is it even a list? It's just like this is basically the choir boy list.
No, Act, don't do that, because when I seen this list yesterday,
Why T Grizzly not on this?
All right, I feel like T Grizzly, he could be on it too. But you know what's gonna happen? No matter who makes the list, if T Grizzly's not on it, if T Grizzly's on it and JID's not, then everybody's a uproar for JID.
Right.
If 6ix9ine is on it and Wi-Fi is not, then it's it's always gonna be something. And when I looked at this overall, even though I'm not really that familiar with Wi-Fi's music or Stefflon Don, it's not a bad list and it's not a choir boy list, because these is people. The only person people would really kind of question is say, well, Ski Mask could have made it last year.
Okay.
Right?
Hey.
But he still, excuse me, one moment, like he still was in position to be on the list. Now, Lil Baby, I feel like Lil Baby was kind of like a slow burn. And what I mean by that is, as hot as he is right now, he wasn't that hot when I heard about him months ago, right? Now, the motherfucker's on fire. Like, you can't go anywhere. In Harlem, they playing this shit. Bronx, even Gunna. Gunna is on super fire, but Gunna's shit has come within the last, 2 months, I felt.
Right.
If you take anybody off of there, people are going to complain.
Yeah, that's the point of a list. Again, I understand the point you're making, but again, I think this came up before. I think things are changing. The climate's different. You know what I mean? Like, as you talked about, they do have sponsors. It's not like they're a startup blog, right? So in the midst of the Me Too movement and all of this, you have to understand why they have to make those considerations, right? Just throwing that out there.
Understand the considerations, but again, I'm gonna, and I'll wrap up my thoughts on this whole list with just saying this. I remember 2 years ago, and everyone knows I'm a huge Uzi fan, and Uzi's management reached out to me and they asked me and they said, do you think doing a XXL list is the move? Because I guess they were offered a spot, and they were considering it because they were considering if they should do it, and the only reason they were considering because at that point, who wouldn't want to be on the list? They were hearing that other people turned it down. And my advice to them was this. I said, the list is only the list if when you're on the list, you feel like you're surrounded by your rightful peers. Which means if the other people with you. So when I said that to him, I'm like, it was rumors that Tory didn't want to do the list that year. Bryson turned it down, and there was somebody else. And for me, I was like, if you're not standing among people that you truly feel are your peers and it's just you and a bunch of whoever else, that's really not the list. You get me? So it doesn't do anything for you. The whole thing about the list is I love to see the peers oh, he's in his class. Right. You know what I mean? I look at, it's almost a competition, not really for the artists, but for the fans. That's how we look at it. So when I look at the list now, I wonder how it will play out, because do we look at this list and say these people are really truly peers, or we say really their peers got detention or got suspended so they couldn't make the list, so this is what's left. That's all I'll say. And it's the first time I felt this way about the list. And of course, even back then, I'm pretty sure sponsors played a part of it. But, and maybe we should blame the artists as well. Maybe it wasn't that many fucking delinquent artists that most of them could make the list. But we are at the point where we're like, it's tough. It's tough. It looks a little different. And again, you know what I mean? Maybe I'm a little too hard on XXL, but I want him to be more transparent. And until that point, if they were very much more transparent, I would be like, I get it.
Well, you know, because when you brought me back, when you said, Bryson turning it down and Tory turning it down, right? Now, when I just think about certain things, like when certain people turn it down, maybe Bryson shouldn't have turned it down because honestly, when you compare him and Tory seems to be having the better careers, putting out better music. After Trap Soul, it's like Bryson kind of faded, right? And the only thing that kind of kept him visible was the Khaled and Rihanna record, and that was last year. Tory is still running around doing everything he's doing. So everybody's not gonna want to be a part of this. I feel like it's a good thing for hip hop because it puts you in a certain class. When we all look back, we remember Nipsey and J. Cole and Big Sean and J-Rock being on that same list. And when you think of those guys and think of it in terms of what they're doing today, you see how well they've aged in their careers, but then you have misses. Everybody's not gonna work out. But what I don't like about it is everybody just tries to shit on the thing, and then if they see it not me, they're gonna be like, yo, that's dope, you made the list. Or they see Block Boy JB, they're gonna be like, yo, that's dope that you made the list, but you shitting on it just cause your homie didn't make it. Or they didn't pick your homie. Now, even with Lil Baby not making it, I think Lil Baby, give him another couple more months, he's gonna have his own cover.
Yeah, I think being on the list does not mean you're not going to be great, right?
Yeah,
so even though if you're offended, you always want the recognition, but it doesn't mean take much.
Honestly, I've been telling these artists, man, y'all need to announce it before the list come out.
No,
That you didn't want to be on it. Like, you know what I mean? Because
all of them want to be
that was
on
an
it,
angle,
man.
though. That was an angle.
All of them want to be on it. Listen, don't be fooled, brother. All of them want to be on the fucking list. It's this
I won't say all, but most.
No, all of them want I know artists that was on the list that was talking about something. I don't want to be on this shit. And then when they there doing it, they like, yo, this is really dope. It's a thing that it's cool. It's become cool to kind of be like, nah, I'm too big for it.
It's cool to say fuck the establishment.
Yeah,
but sometimes you still want the love. It happens.
Well, I'm just saying from an angling perspective, because if today is a day where your fans are finding out that you didn't make the list, you might want to soften the blow if you kind of know you ain't gonna make it. Yo, Richard Kidd used to do it. He used to be like, he's like, yo, how can I be a freshman when my car costs $100,000?
Well, we're not.
Then he showed up to this freshman thing just to turn it down later.
That's
so again,
ridiculous.
it's all about angling and how you make it seem.